Can you see my body?
Yes.
Alone. It sounds kind of lonely, right? Even in the word itself. So imagine that you're in the wilderness, and you have to survive on your own. You're alone. There's no one else there to help you out. But the twist is you signed up for this. So this speech is going to be based on the series called Alone off of History Channel, and this season they're alone in Mongolia. And so in this situation, you only can pick 5 survival items. So if you can only pick 5, you're going to do research and pick the ones that play best to your skills, right? So I did a little research, and the items that I chose that make the best survival guide are as follows. So the first, you'll need a multi-seasonal sleeping bag. Second, you'll need a flint or a ferro rod set for fires. The third is a large quart pot that'll be used for cooking and for boiling water. The fourth, you'll need a 300-yard roll of fishing line with 25 hooks, and that'll be helpful for catching food, and also the fishing line can help with building shelter. Then the last item that you'll need is a hatchet, because you'll need something to protect yourself and you'll need something to cut up your food. So first, let's go ahead and talk about the sleeping bag. So if you're in Mongolia, like the current season on TV, it's going to be freezing. And so in these chilly temperatures, you're going to want something to help your body fight the cold and to stay warm while you're sleeping at night. So in 2014, Meesum says in Warp to the Wise Temperature Ratings for Sleeping Bags Decoded that the temperature rating for a multi-seasonal sleeping bag is about 5 degrees Fahrenheit to 25 degrees Fahrenheit, or 29 degrees Fahrenheit, my bad. So this is a really good sleeping bag to help keep your body heat in one place and to keep you warm. And also in 2016, Diab says in 10 items you need to survive in the wilderness, that the sleeping bag provides insulation for much needed warmth when the temperatures do drop at night. You know, the sun's not out anymore, you got the wind blowing, especially in these really chilly temperatures in Mongolia. The next point to pick a sleeping bag as one of your 5 items to take with you is that when you get a good night's sleep, you'll have more energy to push on and you'll be capable to do more things the next day and, you know, help provide your body with energy if you do get a good night's sleep. So in 2018, Sparacino said in the 11 surprising health benefits in sleep that a good night's sleep can reduce levels of stress. And so if you are in an alone type situation like this, I know that I would be very stressed out. So, you know, lowering these levels of stress will really help your mind kind of clear out all the clouds, and you can think of better ways on how you can catch food, how to build your shelter, or, you know, to help you out throughout the day. And so also in 2018, Barnes says in top 10 benefits of a good night's sleep that your body needs sleep to help fight back infections and illness. And so when you're out in the wilderness like this, you're going to be facing bacteria, you're going to have viruses, you're going to want to be able to fight these infections in any way that you can, so you can stay out the longer and survive more days. So now that we talked about how you need sleep and how, you know, a sleeping bag is going to help you get a good night's rest, we'll move on to talking about why you need a flint or a ferro rod set. So these are going to be important for igniting fires. And so the ferro rod set first is a durable tool. In 2017, Helder said in Do You Have a Ferro Rod in Your Survival Kit? Here are 9 reasons you should. That the ferro rods have a long lifespan and they can be struck up to about 12,000 times. So it obviously is going to take some experience and some practice, you know, get the fire started and ignited, but it is a very durable tool and it'll last you for a long time while you're out there. And also, even in these chilly winters and the chilly weather in Mongolia, including freezing and snow-like conditions, the ferro rod should still be usable. And so in 2017, Helder also said that in weather conditions such as snow and ice, the ferro rod should still have no issues igniting the fire. And you can also use it in rain, in any weather conditions. So it's a very, very durable tool. Another thing why you should take the ferro rod is that the fire created by it is useful for other purposes other than just providing heat. In 2017, Hunter said in Expert Tips for using a ferro rod fire starter that the fire created by the ferro rod can be used to cook food by either using a quart pot or a pan. So you obviously need fire to cook your food. You don't want to be eating raw food and get sick and get very, very ill. So that's another good reason why you should have one. And then Hunter also says that you can use fire to help boil water for purification. So while you're out there, you need to stay hydrated. You need to make sure there's a good way to purify your water. This also cleanses the water of bacteria and viruses that you can come across. And so now that we know why we should have a ferro rod for fires, you'll obviously need something to cook in, right, and to boil water. So a large quart pot is going to be essential for an abundance of meat. So that's the next item that you'll need. In order to cook the food, you may catch with your fishing rod, or you may, catch some prey with your hatchet. You must have something to cook it in. So in 2018, Murray said in 7 tips every camper should know about campfire cooking, that you can cook your food with what's called a hunter's fire, and that consists of 2 thick pieces of dry wood in a V shape, so kind of like this. And then Murray continues to say that you then will pile up tender pieces of wood around or in the middle of the V shape, and then you'll put small twigs and bark around that to help enhance your fire so you can have a bigger fire to lean your quart pot over to cook. And so a cool little fact is that when you cook food, it's easier for your body to digest. So that's another way to help you conserve energy while you're out here in the wilderness. And then a large pot can also be used to purify water by boiling. So it's very important to have clean water while you're out there because you need to stay hydrated. You can only last a few days if you don't have water. So by boiling the water with the pot, it helps purify it. So in 2014, Seiler said in How to Find and Purify Drinking Water in the Wilderness that you can find water in a nearby spring or stream and gather it and collect it and boil it in the water. You're going to want to find a source that has running water, because if you use like river or pond water, it will be fine, but since it's so stagnant, there's going to be a lot of bacteria in it. And Seiler also said that you can use the pot to purify ice and snow. So if you're in somewhere like Mongolia with that kind of weather, you could also use that. So now that we know what we're gonna cook our food in, we gotta catch it. So the next tool that you'll need is a 300-yard roll of fishing line with hooks, and that can be helpful when it comes to food and to shelter. So the fishing line with hooks is good to catch prey in bodies of water. And so Mac Welch said in his 2015 article called 10 Techniques for Catching Fish in a Survival Situation, that hook and line is as basic as it gets when it comes to successful fishing. So it is going to be difficult, and it'll probably take you a few tries to catch them, but that's really all that you need to catch a fish. If you don't have lures or anything like that, you can find crickets and worms and the ground to use as your bait, but you'll be fine. And also in 2014, in a different article, Mac Welch said that by using smaller hooks when you're fishing, there's a higher guarantee of catching small and medium fish. So with these 25 assorted hooks, you're going to get different sizes. So that would be a good thing to take. Another use for fishing line is that it can be used to help maintain and build shelter. So this one was kind of hard to find information on, but I strongly believe that it would be useful in that. So to tie together pieces of wood, branches, and twigs to build the roof for your shelter, the wall for your shelter, it would be perfect. Mac Welch said that about 50 yards of fishing line can hold up to about 10 pounds of weight. So that's pretty good if you're wanting to build shelter. And then in 2015, Henry said in the Survival Fishing Kit, Worth the Time or Useless Gear, you can also test a sturdy single filament fishing line to ensure that it doesn't break. So it's pretty strong. Fishing line can be used for many things. And the last thing that you'll need to take on your survival trip that'll help you, you gotta find a way you gotta skin your animals, you gotta cut the fish, you gotta have something for protection. So a hatchet is gonna be very useful and helpful when it comes to a variety of tasks. So it can be used for protection from all the lurking animals out in the wilderness. So in 2018, O said in 5 not so obvious survival uses for a hatchet that the sharp and hacking blade with the wood grip handle would be really good as a close range weapon. And then also in 2015, Seiler said that if one can learn how to properly throw a hatchet, that it will be good to protect from animals from a distance as well. So it's a very good tool for protection. Another use for it is that it can provide cut up wood for fires and shelters. So you're going to need to have something to set on fire, and the hatchet is going to be very good at chopping down limbs and cutting smaller pieces of wood. So Seiler says that you can cut down limbs and logs in order to obtain dry wood to build fires for heat, cooking, and water purification. Then he also uses an analogy of a hammer for the hatchet as well. So Seiler described that when a hatchet is banged against a tree, that it helps smaller branches and twigs fall off the tree, so it's easier to gather them whenever you need to use them. And the last point that a hatchet would be good for in a alone type situation is that when you have a small animal or fish caught for a meal, you're going to need to have something to cut it up with to help prepare your food. So Seiler says that the sharp blade can be used to help separate animal joints and cut them in quarters so it's easier to cook. And then Seiler also says that the blade of the hatchet can be used to skin your animals and the hides of any of them that you catch. So in conclusion, these are the top 5 items that I think that you would need in an alone type situation. So you have your multi-seasonal sleeping bag, you have the Pharaoh rod set, and then you'll have the large quart pot for food and boiling water. You'll need your fishing rod or your fishing line and your hooks, and then last but not least the hatchet. So I hope that if you guys are ever in a situation like this where you need to pick items or you're out in a situation, I hope that this information helps you. So thank you for listening.